when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
For all things baseball, don't miss the Winter Meetings podcast Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/The Sports Report Podcast, and again Tuesday mornings on West Coast Radio at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Winter Meetings. I am your host, Seven, and my guest, or my co-host, Stefan, is in the background waiting. He will be joining us in just a minute. I wanted to start off, of course, at first and thank our sponsor, Gunslinger Soap. Gunslinger Soap is handmade soaps and beard products made without all of the junk to pamper your skin. You can go to their website right now, gunslingersoap.com, and sign up and get 15% off of your first order and always free shipping over $30. That's gunslingersoap.com. They're actually going to be sponsoring a giveaway we're going to be doing for the World Series. Actually got the product in the mail today. Some of the best soap that you can get. Great for your skin, especially if you are like me and have sensitive skin. It's really good for you. We're even going to be making sure we get Stefan here a care package in the very near future. Welcome, buddy. How you doing today, sir?
Good. Hey, my apologies. I misread this. I thought Stanton was leading off. Bader's leading off.
Bader's hitting first. I think Standish is leading off the bottom of the second inning is what it was. A lot going on in the world of baseball today. 2 elimination games. Game 1, or the first elimination game already happened as the Phillies beat the San Diego Padres 4-3, thanks to an 8th inning home run by Bryce Harper to put the Phillies up. We saw some amazing baseball out of the Phillies in this series. What stood out to you, Stefan?
Just the back and forth of the whole thing. I mean, both teams were so resilient. I mean, they get down by 4, they come right back, score 4 themselves.
Right. I mean, even if you know, you're exactly right. We look at what we saw yesterday on on the game with the Phillies and the Padres. Padres started off strong, scored 4 in the top of the first. Phillies came right back and scored 3, and then it was back and forth for the rest of the game. Of course, the Phillies ended up winning it. That's why today was an elimination game. Blah. And Phillies end up winning the series 4-1. They will be facing whoever wins out of the Yankees and Astros series in the World Series that will start next week. Bryce Harper has really made a statement in the playoffs.
I've done a total 360 on him. I used to hate that guy. Now I really kind of admire him, respect him. I mean, he's turned into a great player. Not turned into, he is a great player.
He is a great player, and I think that because of the lack of press that we see with that the Phillies get, because they are considered a small market team, despite Phillies market being quite big. So there hasn't been a lot of view on the talent that is Bryce Harper, but when you look at his numbers, he had a 400 batting average over the NLCS with 8 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 runs scored in the 5 games. He got at least 1 hit every game during the NLCS.
I think my initial dislike was because of those hair commercials.
It's, he's definitely putting it down. And you also look at Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins was, I remember because my buddy Dan and Dick Werner, who was supposed to be joining us tonight, but maybe a little too focused on the Yankees game. That's okay. Dan was making a lot of noise about the Yankees, but he sells trading cards on eBay, and when I was collecting them himself, he moved some cards on eBay, and he's had a lot of Rhys Hoskins cards. And it was kind of a joke with us because he was getting quite a bit. It was one of those that you just got a lot of, even though you didn't really need them. But when we look at Rhys Hoskins over the NLCS, yes, he's only hitting 222, but he's also gotten 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, and scored 4 runs himself across the 5 games. Always clutch, great fielding play, absolute stellar by both of them. Standouts in that series.
I think also a big story in the series was the Phillies bullpen versus the San Diego bullpen. San Diego bullpen kind of withered.
No, you're 100% right. The Phillies bullpen,
they came through.
Really came through. I'm trying to see what the numbers look like here. I had it in front of me just a second ago. Bullpen ERA. Where did that go? Their ERA across the NLCS, the ERA was only 3.68. 3.68.
That's great nowadays.
And We look at, yeah, it is great nowadays, especially, I mean, because normally if you're seeing anything close to 3 or below, that's a starter. That's your starters. That's what your starter should be doing. And to see, because bullpen ERAs typically, from what I've seen, are typically north of 4 for most teams. So that's always good. And just delivering consistency throughout the entire ALCS. 3 of the games were save situations that they've, of course, won. They only gave up 6 home runs throughout the 5 games, and only the collectively over 5 games, the Phillies bullpen only walks 9 batters.
Incredible.
While throwing across that 49 strikeouts. 49 strikeouts, that's just shy of 10 strikeouts a game from your bullpen in one 5-game series. That
and like
is
3 walks a
stupid.
game. It's like 2 walks a game.
Yeah. You're looking at less than 2 walks a game and 10 strikeouts a game from your bullpen.
Crazy.
That's, you see, so 3 outs over, we'll say 5 innings. It's 15 outs that you have to get in a worst case scenario of going in the 5th inning for your bullpen. And you get, in that time, 10 of those outs come from strikeouts in the game.
Wow.
That's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah.
You just can't quite click it. I was watching today, and Yu Darvish is said to have 11 different pitches in his repertoire. 11. Quick question, because I can't remember this. I know you told me before, but I can't remember off the top of my head. How many did you have? Was it 3?
I had, I basically 4, but a terrible slider, so I don't really count that. Pretty much fastball, changeup, and forkball.
There you go.
But I think the average is 4 for the major leaguers.
Yeah, most of your guys are going to have 4. There's a few guys out there like Kimbrel and I think Liam Hendricks and a couple of others that only really have 2,
right,
and a few that have 3. But most of your pitches are going to have 4. Is pretty normal. 4 to 5 every once in a while.
Well,
11.
the problem, I think, with having more than 4, which apparently Darvish does not have, is that you have to work on every pitch consistently. And if you have to work on 11 pitches, you're ignoring 10 other pitches.
Right. Well, and excuse me. When you look at Darvish, like Darvish was one of the few holdouts for PitchCom in Major League Baseball, which has been an interesting piece for those of you that don't know. PitchCom, instead of having to worry about people stealing signs, they have pitchers have an earpiece and catchers have a receiver that they can type in for the pitches. But PitchCom can only have a max of 8 pitches if it's a modified one.
Although I'm sure that of Darvish's 11 pitches, I'm sure a lot of those are like, something like a different fastball, something. So they could put it like down fastball, and he could just do whatever he wants. I mean, as long as the catcher knows what's coming. I mean, if he throws a fastball, if he throws like a cutting fastball or a sinking fastball, if they consider that 2 pitches, I don't think you need an exit button on the pitch clock.
Well, as long as you're pitching, as long as you're going pitch and location. Right. Outside of that, it is what you're saying makes sense. Is that would be kind of open, but when you look at Darvish, like normally he's a beast. Darvish is one hell of a pitcher. I've seen him pitch live myself. Actually, I went to opening day at Chase Field this year, and he pitched against the Diamondbacks against, I believe it was Mad Bum that was pitching in that game. And I got to watch him throw, and he just amazing pitcher, absolutely stellar pitcher. And
he really impressed me.
To see him struggle today, because like he could not get any command of his fastball. He was pulling it, and so he would be trying to get up and in, and it's down low, something outside. Like his release point, there's something up with his release point or his grip or something. I think I saw him. I might have seen half a dozen fastballs through the first, because he threw the first 6.
Was it raining when he was in?
It was raining for most of that game, but it wasn't.
That could have something to do with the release point.
But it wasn't like a dramatic amount of rain. There was some time in the later part of the game where it got a little heavier, but like while Darvish was out there, most of it was like a mist at best. Like it wasn't really a lot. You couldn't even tell that the guys were really that wet. Like the cleats were a little muddy, but outside of that, like it wasn't really that bad. So I could see it affecting it a little bit, but I don't know. Like even the analysts were talking about, it shouldn't be that much because he was fine with his breaking balls. Right. He was still locating those, his curve, his slider, and all of that. They were all going where they were supposed to. So for him, man, I feel bad for him because to not have the most important pitch in your arsenal as a pitcher not be locating for you in the game of your, the game of your year, the game of your career. That's rough. And
he still pitched a pretty good game. I mean, they were right in it till the very end.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, he gave his team a chance to win. He gave his team a chance to win, which is all you can ask.
Absolutely, and I think you're 100% correct on that. He did give his team a chance to win, and that's really the best thing. He did. Because it was back and forth there for a little while, and at one point the Padres were actually leading 3-2 before Bryce Harper's bomb in the bottom of the 8th inning. And he was looking at possibly being able to get a win out of that game despite all the struggles that he had.
Speaking of release points. A couple of those runs were scored on wild pitches because I think the Phillies pitcher was having trouble with gripping the ball, and
they pulled Zach Wheeler, and then Dominguez came. The Phillies pulled Zach Wheeler, and Dominguez came in, and Dominguez had 2 wild pitches and 1 at bat,
right?
And that's what got the because Josh Bell hit an RBI double, and that's what put him up, and then. There was a wild pitch because they sent somebody in for Josh Bell.
Wild pitch him to third, wild pitch him home.
Wild pitch to third, and then wild pitch to home in the same bat. It's just like, that's those type of things can kill you. But luckily, the Phillies offense is just they don't know quit. I've said this before. I said this last week actually. This team reminds me of the 2015 Royals. I just plain and simple. The energy that they have, the fight, the atmosphere around that team, the opponents not being able to capitalize on mistakes because they recover well. Like those are all key pieces of that Royals run in 2015.
I think Schwarber brought a lot to the team.
It really, really pisses me off that the Red Sox did not re-sign Schwarber. He is a great player, still a lot of talent. He was putting up some stellar.
And he's a great clubhouse guy. He's
guy. He's there's, and that's the thing is you can always use a guy like Schwarber, but even with him, if you look at the numbers that he had, he hit 400. Throughout the 5 games, 6 hits, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 6 runs. So he has scored 6 runs himself across the 5 games. Like, I mean, you mean to tell me Boston couldn't use something like that?
Over JBJ?
What is their affinity with Jackie Bradley Jr.?
I don't know.
Because they could have kept Hunter Renfroe.
Maybe he has pictures of Keim Bloom or something. I don't know.
I mean, he's got pictures of somebody somewhere. He's like he's the Major League Baseball's Dan Sorensen at this point.
Yeah.
There is some, and I say that respectfully. Dan Sorensen helped Kansas City get their ring, and he has some talent there. It's just his deficiencies are glaring. JBJ, stellar in the outfield. JBJ, worthless at the plate.
But I think
Dan's.
You said this to me a couple of weeks ago. JBJ's career might be a little resurrected when they get rid of the shift, because a lot of his outs were into the shift.
No, and I think if he gets a shot next year, we may. I mean, no, I legitimately, I think there's a few guys that could see a resurgence in their career because of the ban of the shift. I think
Ortiz might come out of retirement.
I mean, great chance to get Barry Bonds out of retirement to reset that Hall of Fame clock. Giants bring him in, have him sit in that DH slot.
Yeah.
Just, once every 3 or 4 games, hey, you only have to play when we're home. We'll deal with it when we're on the road, but you just play when we're home. He'll be fine. He can DH at 45. He'll be all right. Tom, isn't that? Hold on. How old is he? I think he's. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he's 58. Okay, I thought he was younger than he was. No, I think he'll still work.
That's pretty old coming from a 64-year-old.
You mean to tell me that if the Yankees called you and said, hey, we need you for 1 inning every other month?
No. I think my ERA can only go up. That's saying something. I'm going to quit while I'm behind.
Hey, you've got a better ERA than Albert Pujols, and
yes,
that is all that matters.
And I always
Veterans Committee needs to get you in the Hall of Fame immediately.
I'm writing letters.
Because, I mean, you pitched in the same number of pro games that he did, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So I think that we need to make this happen immediately.
Little petition? Nice. I like that.
But it's the NL, the National League side as a whole is interesting because there's some people that may already have forgotten. Both the Padres, the Yankees are up bottom of the second, 3-0. A lot of people forget that for the National League side, both of these are wild card teams. Both the Phillies and the Padres that were competing for the National League pennant were wild card teams. And this shows, this definitely added the change in format for the playoffs definitely added an element to it because last year's format, is it possible we still see the same result? Absolutely. But is it likely? Not really. It's baseball. It's, whatever I can do to get more baseball. It's great to relax and watch. So as the Padres wrap up their season, not going to see Tatis back until 42 games in the next season. Do you think that the Pod? Yeah, that's everybody makes mistakes, but he made a pretty big one, unfortunately.
Pretty inexcusable.
It's if what he says is what happened. And I will say it just like that because there has never been a shred of information that's been released to counter his story. So we have to take him at his word.
Of course, Barry Bonds said that too. So did Lance Armstrong.
Right, but the evidence came out, so now we can say otherwise. Until we get another proof, hey, how many times did Aroyd say he had quit taking steroids?
Right.
The second time the cover-up was so intricate, there was a congressional investigation. I mean, so anything is possible. But if we take him on what his word, he got a ringworm, got an antifungal that had a steroid in it that you can't test positive for. It was such a dumb mistake. If he would have just told the team trainers, they would have given him something that was not going to mess him up.
So who did give him that steroid?
He bought it from what I've seen, he bought it from like a Walmart or CVS or something like that. It was an antifungal cream to deal with the ringworm. And, it's like I mean, and realistically, so let me ask you this. Realistically, knowing that he comes back 42 games, so you're a quarter of the way through the season, realistically, when you get him back, how well the Padres went through this last leg of the season, do you foresee the Padres being in the playoffs next year?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
wild card team again, or do you think they have a chance at the division next year?
No, I don't think they have a chance at division, but I think they have a good chance at wild card. I mean, yeah, they're good. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them just because they lost today. They're a good team.
It's, and one of the things that I keep thinking about is they did everything they've done, knocking out the Dodgers, keeping these games with Philly close,
signing Soto.
When you look at the lineup that they're going to have next year once Tatis is back, because you'll have obviously Tatis, Soto. You're also still going to have Manny Machado. That's three names right there. That's a great big three, really.
Josh Bell.
Josh Bell is a fantastically talented player. When you look at, Jurickson Profar only hit like 215 during the season, I think is what it was, but I still think he's got a huge upward momentum that he can go. Brandon Drury is another piece. He's 30, so he's right in his prime. Though, and I think they got him from Cincinnati this year. I think he's going to be a good piece for them if they keep him. Austin Nola, I think, is a piece I could see them move off of. Maybe they make a play for Christian Vasquez, because I don't think that Houston tries to keep Vasquez simply because of how his postseason has gone. He hasn't had the best record. But San Diego,
he had a good game yesterday.
Right.
He threw a guy out and got a nice line drive hit.
Right, but it's when with his numbers, hold on.
Yeah, overall, though, it hasn't really worked out for the Astros.
Because when you look at his numbers, since 35 games with the Astros, he's only hit 250, which, that's decent, but you really, he should have been career-wise. I think he's like a 280 hitter. He only had one home run across the 35 regular season games, 10 RBIs. He only scored 8 runs. I would think that they wanted more out of him than that.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I could see him. I definitely think he'll be available, but is San Diego gonna make that plunge? Because Austin Nola, him, facing his brother in that series was great. Great story. Great for baseball. I think it's amazing. But is he the right spot behind the plate?
Plus, pitchers love Vasquez. He calls a great game.
He knows what he's doing. And I think that's one of the reasons why Boston hadn't moved off of him, because he does have those ups and downs at the plates, but his confidence behind the plate, the way he calls a game, like, pitchers love that.
Yep.
Obviously, pitchers love that. So somebody's going to grab Vasquez. I don't think he's done by any means. Let's see here. Top of the third, the Yankees are still up 3-0. Over in the NFL, just a quick score update. Sunday Night Football. Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, I think I said that right, are up 13-3 on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot going on tonight in sports world. It's been a busy day for sports in general.
Astros have 2 on with nobody out. Astros first and second, nobody out.
There we go. So that's Astros threatening. That's always a good sign. There's only been one time that a team has come back from the 3-0 series. And it happened to be against the Yankees in 2004 when the Boston Red Sox came back down 3-0, ended up winning 4 consecutive games to go to the World Series and end up breaking the curse of the Bambino. It was reported today that the Yankees actually watched footage of that, some highlights from that 2004 series against the Boston Red Sox, and they actually channeled their arch nemesis and asked David Ortiz to speak to them in the pregame. Being realistic, do you think the Yankees can come back and take the series?
No.
Or are they just staving off the inevitable at this point?
Yeah, I think Houston's just too good. Their pitching is too good for the Yankees to come back to win 4 games now.
Absolutely. There's Houston.
They have 5 starting pitchers that are very good.
Yeah. Houston, I think, has the best pitching all around for starters and bullpen in the league. And we've said multiple times this year that the Astros are the Yankees' kryptonite. Kudos to the Yankees for somebody having to recognize that you have a kryptonite, because that's still a compliment. They still had a tremendous season. Judge hit 62 home runs. Aaron Boone didn't lose his job. These are all remarkable things that happened to the Yankees this year. But
didn't lose his job yet.
Yeah, and that's they just extended him.
Oh, did they?
Start of this season, they just extended him. So I would say what I would expect is next year his job's going to be on the hot seat.
Definitely.
Because, last year you lost to the 1-game wild card series to the Red Sox. You know what? 1 game, new format this year. Get to the divisional round, end up not even really having to do anything until you have to struggle to fight through the Guardians. You almost get knocked out by the Guardians in the divisional round. And you get to the ALCS and you can't find your offense against the Astros. If the Astros were stealing Steins right now, they wouldn't need to.
3-3. Tie ball game. I wonder who hit a home run.
Well, let's take a look here. Pena.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
3-3. That's got to quiet the crowd. The crowd.
Yeah, Jeremy Pena.
Another great player. He took over for Correa
Yep. And that's the thing is and there I saw a thing earlier, I think it was last week. Correa has been, doing playoff work in the broadcast, the pre and post game broadcast. I think it was for TBS. And one night in the last series, he had to interview Pena, and you could tell it was kind of super awkward.
Right. I can see that.
And I get on Correa's side, he needed to try something different. And then he gets, he and Freddie Freeman both had struggles with agents with their negotiations. And Correa, of course, opted out of his deal as he was allowed with the Twins and will be back on the market. So he will go somewhere.
He can still opt out after this year.
Yeah, he did. He's already said he's going to.
Oh, he did already?
Test free agent. He did say that re-signing with the Twins is not off the table. So it is possible that he may go back. The Twins actually started off pretty strong this year. They did this year what the Mets did last year. They started off really strong and fell off in July and just never recovered. A lot of people, including myself, had them picked to take their division. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Correa could definitely still be a contender there if they're going to make the right moves. But I think he's kind of trying to force their hand on that, along with making sure that he can't make a lot more money elsewhere. We'll see what happens.
It's tough to live on $300 million a year.
The scrapings are bare. You get the cabins. The cabinets. They're not even, the cabinets aren't even there because you don't have the money to build them. I
have to make $1 more than that guy.
Oh, they're so petty and it's great. I love it. I think it's absolutely hilarious. But
somebody actually had that in their contract at one time. I forget who it was, but they said, whatever happens, I need to make $1 more than this guy. I don't know who it was, but
I can't remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've heard about it, but I can't remember who it was. There was that one last year because it was Tatis signed his deal at 340, and then somebody did a 341. And I can't remember who it was.
Was it Manny that said that?
No, I think it was somebody on the Mets.
Uh-oh.
Wait, no, it was somebody on the Mets did 340, and then Tatis did 341. Who was it? I can't remember. Darn it. Anyway, Beverly, actually, my mom in the comments makes a good point here. She said, names don't win games, actions win games. They can have a team full of whoever, but if they get hurt or have an off season, they will be the next year's Orioles. Talking about the Padres there. No, and she's 100% right. Like, that's just the way that it works. Got some bots trying to spam us in the chat. I appreciate the attention to whoever's sending the bots, but please don't. I get distracted too easy. I have ADHD. It doesn't help.
No one remembers who finishes second. I mean, next year, I probably next year, not many people will even remember that the Padres got this far.
I think you might be right. I mean, really, I it's going to depend on what the results are. Can you split your 42 games where you don't have Tatis and then start to, and then keep it 75% the rest of the way? Probably be fine. But
I also wonder if there's some sort of psychological thing in the clubhouse where they're not happy with him. He might have cost them the playoffs because of not being there.
I don't know. Do you really think that? Because, I mean, they were able to make it past the monster that was the Dodgers without Tatis.
Well, it all depends on what type of guy he is. Really? I don't know what type of guy he is. If he's a happy-go-lucky guy in the clubhouse, if people like him, if he laughs a lot, if he's a leader, I have no idea. If he's a jerk, they're not going to be happy with him.
No, not at all. Well, and you look at, but also there's some guys that it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to be able to recover anyway. I mean, heck, Draymond Green punches Jordan Poole and they're fine.
Yep.
That's and a lot of that comes back to the type of guy that Draymond is. Most people understand he just gets to be a little too passionate and hot-headed. It doesn't excuse his behavior. It is what it is, but they understand what it is, and they're willing to look past it because they know that when he's right, he generates results, and they're not always the results you see on the scoreboard, but he makes an impact.
Yep.
And there are some guys in baseball where it's more about the defense than the hitting, but in today's game, teams have started to even move away from that because you need every run you can.
You know what surprised me listening to the game today was that Smoltz said that Machado has turned into a real leader in the clubhouse, which I could not see happening 5 years ago.
I mean, he's growing up. It was bound to be happening at some point, especially he had that bad boy or that more aggressive type attitude, that persona that we saw previously. Like he's leaning into the veteran expectations and the veteran role, and I think that's a really good thing. They desperately need that.
Well, he needs
in that clubhouse. Oh yeah, I think so. I think I think you're right on that one. But as we look at the Yankees right now, again, just reminder to score, top of the third, 3-3 in New York. Elimination game for the Yankees as they are currently down in the series 3-0. Aaron Judge has been
Cortez is out already. They pulled him. Peralta's pitching now. So Cortez only went 2 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs.
Probably because he gave up the runs.
Yeah, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 home run.
They're trying to stay competitive. They don't want to lose this game, Aaron. You could be right. Boone's job could still be on the line, but I would think it's going to be if they have these problems next year, he loses his job because they did have a better record and they did make it farther than they did last year. So I would think, but when we look at Aaron Judge, and here's where I think the biggest problem lies with the Yankees in the postseason. The Yankees live or die by Aaron Judge. And in 8 games, Aaron Judge, and this is according to statmuse.com. StatMuse is great. You can actually just type in what you're looking for. Like for this, I just typed Aaron Judge, 2022 postseason. Aaron Judge has a batting average of 156 during the postseason with 5 hits, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, and 5 runs scored across the 8 games. If your star is hitting 156, you're not going to produce runs to win games. Plain and simple. There's only so much that they can do. And yeah, there's guys like Josh Donaldson. A lot of Yankees fans aren't happy with Josh Donaldson right now because he's only had a couple of hits across the 8 games. Matt Carpenter hasn't really played very much. He seems to have lost his magic almost.
Old.
It's
Matt Carpenter, I think, as of yesterday, he had 8 at-bats, 8 strikeouts as of yesterday.
Yeah, he is. I don't know what it was because he had a absolutely stellar season until he got hurt.
Right, yeah, came out of nowhere.
Came out of nowhere. Like if it wasn't for Verlander's recovery and Verlander coming back this year and doing so well, I could see him in the running for comeback player of the year. Mm-hmm. But Verlander's got that just as much as Judge has the AL MVP. That's just what it is.
It'd be nice to be able to win comeback player of the year and Cy Young.
Yeah, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And before our fun topic for the night, we had kind of decided we were going to talk a little bit about the most hated players in baseball. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you one more question, dear. There is a lot more conversation around Shohei not being with the Angels next year, despite that re-signing, because now that Shohei has been back in Japan following the end of the season with the Angels, he has made comments about not having a very fond memory of this season.
Right. That makes sense.
Which, and especially within the Japanese culture, like even if you're willing to say something like that, that signifies a significant negative opinion in most cases.
Well, it's tough to have fun when you lose night after night.
And have
fun when you hit 30 home runs and go home a loser.
And think about this: the Phillies fired their coach in May, and they're in the World Series. The Angels fired their coach in May, and they were basically out of contention by the end of June.
May 30.
There wasn't really a sure road back to success after that. Shohei could be moving after the season. Do you think that there's I feel like, because my heart says I want Boston to get Shohei so we can further reverse the curse of the Bambino. We're going to get Shohei and want to ring with him, make sure that it's gone. But I had a conversation with a friend of mine Friday. The Braves grabbing Shohei would be
I put him over. I put him over.
and put him over, because then at that point, I mean, look at the Braves starting rotation. They've got 3 decent pitchers now for their starting rotation. Shohei gives you a 4th and a very, very good at bat in him, because, you know, just like we've said, Shohei is really 2 roster slots out of 1 guy. So you get that extra slot to use for what you need it for, because Shohei is also a great hitter, and you can put him in as a DH when he's not pitching and still get results. Which offense would be a huge help for them, I feel like, especially with the competition that they deal with on a regular basis. I think the Braves would really benefit by doing that, especially because of, you know, they didn't spend as much money as they thought they were going to, because they didn't keep Freddie Freeman. So why not go dump a bunch of money?
Imagine Shohei batting in front of Acuna
or Ozuna.
Acuna.
Marcell Ozuna. No, Marcell Ozuna. Well, there's Acuna Jr., yeah, but then also, don't they have Marcell Ozuna?
I have no idea.
But yeah, no, I mean, he is a pitcher, my bad. But no, like that's a great bat in their lineup. Great bat in their lineup, and fills a pitching need, which I think pitching is one of their weaknesses this year. Despite, you know, future National League Rookie of the Year Spencer Strider being one of their starting pitchers.
And you know he's going to improve.
Yeah, I think we see him get a little bit more control, and I wouldn't not be surprised to see his velocity tick up a little bit as well.
I think he's got future Cy Young written all over him.
I agree. There is a Cy Young award or 2 in his future, but he'll at least get Rookie of the Year this year for the National League, which I think is great, because really the 2 biggest contenders for Rookie of the Year for the National League are both on the Braves, the third baseman and one of their pitchers. So that's great for them, but I understand the importance of building through the draft, because that's long-term success with typically a smaller investment. But you've got to grab a couple of wingmen out of free agency, just a couple of power guys.
Yeah, there's just some deals you can't pass up.
And that's the thing is there's going to be a couple of things that I think that they could do. One, you know, like I said, grabbing Shohei would be huge. Maybe a small improvement on their infield a little bit somewhere. I don't know where that looks like, but somewhere in their infield. And I think they're back in the World Series contention.
Yeah, because they'll have Albies back, right?
Yeah. Have Ozzy Albies back. Acuna Jr. will be back next year for sure. And, you know, just gotta keep rolling. All right, so before we wrap up this evening, I wanted to talk a little bit. We've kind of been talking about this in our group chat that we have about the most hated men in baseball. And, you know, there's a lot of stories that go around, so of course we can't guarantee that all of these will be true. And the information that we are discussing is based on resources that we could find. So don't consider everything that we have golden. Do your own research, decide your own opinions. But here's what we're looking at.
Houston took the lead.
Did Houston take the lead? Oh, yep, they're up 4-3. They scored in the top of the third, so that's good for them. Yankees are now going to be backpedaling again.
I don't think any lead is safe against Houston these days.
No.
And, you know, they not only they're going to beat you, they know they're going to come back and beat you. They know it, and the opponent knows it, and the Yankees know it.
Yeah. I think you're right. The Yankees are, there is a lot of talent on that roster. Like, and that's the truth of it. You don't win 99 games in the season accidentally. You just don't. But at the time, they can't close the door. And there's a reason for that in the organization somewhere. And if when you're a large market team like the Yankees, your base expects you to find what that reason is that you can't close and deal with it.
It might be pressure. You don't know.
And I think that Yankees fans, and I understand that I'm a Red Sox fan and I'm in a Red Sox jersey. I understand that. But what I'm about to say is just based on observations. Yankees fans have a very high expectation of their team. And a lot of that stems from having 27 rings. So, to a point, Yankees fans have been conditioned to have higher expectations because of prior success of the organization. However, since Steinbrenner died, the standards and practices within that organization have not been what they should be. And so that's why you get situations like Aaron Judge hitting 62 home runs and still getting booed by the fans because he's hitting 156 in the playoffs. This is why we may see Aaron Judge sign with somebody else, because if Aaron Judge goes to pretty much any other fan base, they're going to embrace him with open arms, short of him, pulling a Henry Ruggs. He's going to have the undying support of whatever team's fan base he goes to, especially the storylines that would surround him if he went to the Giants, which I know would make Craig very, very happy.
Or maybe to the Mets. He can stay in the same fan base.
The Mets are another one. I still think that if he is actually going to take offers from other teams, if Boston is not at least trying, they're idiots.
Right.
And I say that honestly and respectfully. Like, if there is a legitimate chance to get Aaron Judge, you should, especially for these large market teams.
Screwed up with Schwarber. That was a big mistake.
It makes me question the decision to keep. Yeah, it makes me just question Kai Bloom. Right. Like, and I understand that there are some things that there are some vision. There is a vision that Kai Bloom has, but
I just don't know if that vision works in Boston. I mean, it might work in Tampa Bay, but I don't think it'll work in Boston.
It might work in Tampa Bay. I mean, there are a few teams who could use a GM like him, Arizona being one of them. I think could hugely benefit from his mentality. I think Ken Kendricks, who I can't stand, but I think Ken Kendricks would like his style because he wants to win cheap. That doesn't work when you're in a market like Boston.
Did you realize if the Phillies win the World Series, that'll be the fourth team that Dave Dombrowski has brought to the series?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, I heard it.
I knew he got it. Wow, that's interesting. I knew he got a few teams, but I didn't realize it was
4 now. 3 now.
4.
4 if they win. So
That's
I
insane.
guess Boston, Detroit. I don't know. Did he ever get Detroit in?
Wasn't he running them in, what was that, 2012?
I don't know.
Was it 2012, 2014 when they won the World Series?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Because I know the Boston won in 2013, so it was either the year before or the year after Detroit won the World Series. So I think it's possible, yeah, because I don't think he was with Boston when they got the one in 2013. So, yeah, Boston, Detroit. Who was the other one?
I don't know.
That's interesting. But, okay, so let's take a look at this. Before we move on, talk about the most hated men in baseball for a couple of minutes. Phillies against Astros. Who are you going to take?
I'm going to take the Astros. I picked the Astros to win it all.
You picked the Astros to win it all.
Yep.
So, in the unlikely event that the Yankees come back in this series, who would you pick out of the Yankees and the Phillies?
I think I picked the Phillies at this point.
I can support that. I think I'm going to root for the Phillies in the series, regardless of who they play. Phillies are a fun team to root for, but I expect an Astros-Phillies World Series, and I expect the Astros to win.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so quick update. Astros-Yankees. Astros are still up 4-3, bottom of the third. 1 on, nobody out. Okay, so before we wrap up today.
Hold on. Florida Marlins. He took the Florida Marlins in 1997.
Oh, okay.
The Tigers in 2006 and 2012, and the Red Sox in 2018.
04. Oh, that was the 18 series that he did for them. Okay.
Yeah, forget about the Marlins.
I forget about them as a team in general sometimes.
Well, sometimes they're pretty forgettable.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's talk. And the first one I want to talk about with most hated people in baseball. This one kind of shocked me. But the number one most hated person in baseball, or most hated baseball player of all time, according to Bleacher Report, is Ty Cobb. And what they said was that by most accounts, Ty Cobb is hands down the worst human being to ever play in Major League Baseball, and it's not even close. Cobb was frequently involved in fights and was also a well-known racist, obviously playing during a time where this was still common in the country. For example, Cobb had a confrontation with a groundskeeper back in 1907 during spring training. According to Gilbert King of Smithsonian.com, in August, Georgia, a black groundskeeper named Buggy, whom Cobb had known for years, attempted to shake Cobb's hand or pat him on the shoulder. The overly familiar greeting infuriated Cobb, who slapped him and chased him from the clubhouse. When Buggy's wife tried to intervene, Cobb turned around and choked her until teammates pried his hands off of her neck.
He didn't punch out his own fans.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I've seen a lot of aggressive stories about Ty Cobb.
If they booed him, he'd go punch someone out.
Yeah, he really wasn't one to like criticism.
No.
And you know that stolen base season that he had, what was that, 1915? Where he had set the record for stolen bases in a season. Incidentally enough, was mentioned in the book that was written by Ron T. Waldo, who we interviewed last week, Dead Ball Trailblazers. There is a chapter on the Ty Cobb stolen base season. It is a great read. Yeah, he was not well liked. Not well liked by a lot of accounts. And
not a good guy.
I was shocked because initially when I was younger, I had heard some positive things. I know my grandpa really liked him. Maybe it was because he was racist, but I don't know. We're talking about the same man that quit watching golf on TV for 2 years when they started featuring Tiger Woods. So I'm just being honest. I love the man. The man taught me a lot, but he in his younger years, he did not have a very forward-thinking opinion. It changed, but it was not always great. Great. Athletes are people too. My Thursday night show, Sports Report After Dark. It's one of our firm believers, our firm platforms, if you will, is that athletes are people too. But Ty Cobb is an asshole. Pete Rose, obviously not a good reputation. A-Rod and Barry Bonds, along with Roger Clemens, also not very well liked throughout their time. Wasn't there a couple that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I was looking at a list, like the top 4 are all Houston Astros, and I think that's because of the cheating scandal. Like Altuve, seriously, Altuve, Correa, and Bregman were all the top 3. And I don't think that's, I don't think they're unlikable. I just think, people are pissed off that they cheated.
Yeah, and it's just like with this Bleacher Report article, Alex Rodriguez being one of them. I think it has a lot to do with, with A-Rod, it's the steroids.
Right.
And with Altuve, Correa, because like earlier, beginning of the year, there was actually a couple of pieces, a couple of videos that were about Correa and like about, his when he's not playing baseball. And he seems like he's actually a pretty good guy. So I now never met him personally, don't know him from Adam. I get it. But I would think that maybe you're right on that one. Now, Altuve, I think there's a little more to that one.
Could be.
Well,
I hear all the time someone saying, "Oh, that guy's a jerk. He wouldn't sign my kids' baseball." Guys that I know, like someone once said, Dave Winfield's a jerk. He didn't sign my kids' baseball. And I know personally, Dave Winfield is one of the classiest, most stand-up guys in baseball.
Yeah.
People just don't know these. People make assumptions. They don't know these people.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many people that will judge their opinion of a player based on that one interaction. Hey, will you sign my baseball?
Right.
And they just say no. Look, you will sometimes, when you want to get out of work and your boss says, hey, can you do this for me? You're just like, no, I'm going home. Athletes are people too. They're allowed to say no when they want to be done. We're all allowed to say no. To expect that somebody is not allowed to say no. Now, let's say, for example, Comic-Con. Okay? People go to Comic-Con for pictures and autographs. Like you're there to cosplay, take pictures with celebrities, and get their autographs. And if somebody, we'll say Ryan Reynolds, sets up a booth at Comic-Con and is signing autographs and taking pictures, promoting Deadpool. And Ryan Reynolds says he's going to be there X hours each day. And he gets to the end of his shift. He says, all right, guys, I can't stay. I'm done. I'm exhausted. And he gets up and leaves. People are going to be mad at him and say that he was an asshole.
You just don't know that when had a huge fight with their wife the night before. Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, his wife might have kicked him out of the house the night before. They just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know somebody's race. You don't know, and I don't mean like races and skin color. I mean races and what, their life. You don't know what they're dealing with in the run and running the race that is their life.
Right.
And so it's important to remember, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, just like I believe you're a person too, despite being a former Yankees player. Athletes are people too. It's not a hard concept. All right, one last update on the score. It is 4-3 after the third inning. I want to give a thank you to everybody who has been watching and those of you that were in the comments. We appreciate you so much. You can catch the rebroadcast this on West Coast Radio Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. You just by adding a skill onto your Alexa or going to westcoastradio.info. Big shout out to those of you that are catching at the end of this episode on West Coast Radio. Definitely like our Facebook channel so you can stay up to date with us. We are going to be planning a commentary of one of the series games. It was going to be game one back when it was originally looking like game one was going to be on November 5th. But since it looks like game one is going to be on Halloween, it will probably be not that game. It will be a different one. But we will have more information on that. Stay tuned on our Facebook page for more information. I know Stefan will be popping in if he can for that as well, which I think is going to be great as we talk about baseball.
What do you mean popping in? I'll be sitting in this chair. I'll push me off this chair. You might have to pop me out. You're gonna have to pop me out.
I'm excited for that. I'm legitimately excited for that. I like that. It's thank you for joining us this season and being with us, man. It's genuinely, as we look closer towards the end of the season, it's genuinely been amazing to have you this year, to learn from you, and you know, you're only the second person that's a Yankees fan that I call a friend. So that's. Well, I want to thank you're Yankees associates. You're not a fan, you're a former player, but that's been associated with the Yankees that I call friend.
I've learned a lot from you too. You are very knowledgeable in sports, I have to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't cool enough to be an athlete, so I spent a whole lot of time watching and learning from athletes on how to see it, and it's really helped. So, but you can check out past episodes on Spotify as well as iHeart Radio. This episode will be on Spotify tomorrow. If you're listening to this on West Coast Radio, the episode is already on Spotify. So if you missed anything, you can go back and get it. But tonight, before we wrap up, we are going to run a promo for each of our other sports shows that run on West Coast Radio. And we will see you guys. You can catch me tomorrow night on Sports Report at 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking more baseball there, along with all other sports like basketball, baseball, and football. Along with combat sports and stuff like that. Tuesday nights, there is Fight Night. That is Will and Josie going into combat sports like boxing, UFC, WWE, AEW, and so on. And then Dan and I, Thursday nights at 10 Eastern for Sports Report After Dark. You can go to the Sports Report Facebook page for a full schedule. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. For my friend Stefan Wever, I am Seven. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Wrap up your Monday with some laughs. Make sure to join Will, Seven, Dan the Dick Warner, and Josie as they dive into the hottest topics of the week across sports, including baseball, basketball, and the NFL. You can catch the episode live Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/The Sports Report Podcast, or Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern on West Coast Radio. Don't miss the Sports Report Podcast. Don't miss Fight Night. Every Tuesday night, Will Morgan and Josie Haney break down the hottest topics of the week across combat sports, including UFC, boxing, WWE, AEW, and more. Past episodes are available on youtube.com/The Sports Report Podcast, and each episode will air again Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern on West Coast Radio. Don't miss Fight Night. Tune in or tap out. Put the kids to bed, put on your shades, and crack open a cold one during Sports Report After Dark with Seven and Dan the Dick Warner. You can catch After Dark Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/The Sports Report Podcast, and again Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern on West Coast Radio. We believe that athletes are people too, and Skip Bayless is one of the lizard people. Don't miss Sports Report After Dark. For all things baseball, don't miss the Winter Meetings podcast Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/The Sports Report Podcast, and again Tuesday mornings on West Coast Radio at 11 a.m. Eastern.